Coffee looks innocent. Morning ritual, familiar comfort, the thing that makes the day start. But pour from the wrong can, and what is actually in the cup is acrylamide at nearly 500 parts per billion, pesticide residues from unverified farms, and beans that were ground weeks before they ever reached the kitchen. The front of the pack says mountain grown, rich, bold flavor, the best part of waking up. The back of the pack tells a different story, one that involves a $16 million federal lawsuit over cups that were never in the can, a private equity firm that quietly bought the brands people fled to, and one company that controls 26% of the coffee Americans brew at home without a single independent certification across the entire portfolio. This is what the research found when it went behind the label. 10 brands that treat the morning ritual as a margin opportunity, 5 that do not. Stay till the end. The number one on the good side earns that spot, and the reason why lands harder after everything that comes before it. 8 o'clock coffee. 8 o'clock has been on grocery shelves since 1859, which is either a testament to longevity or a warning about inertia, depending on how the cup tastes. The brand markets itself as a premium grocery option, value pricing that punches above its weight, an aroma that reviewers consistently describe as remarkable. The aroma, it turns out, is doing a lot of heavy lifting. What independent reviews consistently find is a coffee that promises more than it delivers. Beans sourced from multiple unspecified regions, with no transparency on quality control standards between them. The smell that fills the kitchen and the flavor that ends up in the cup are two different experiences. Sourcing information on the label? None. Certifications of any kind? None. Origin regions? Unspecified. The aroma is the marketing. The cup is what was actually purchased. Green Mountain Coffee. There was a version of Green Mountain Coffee that genuinely deserved its reputation. Vermont-based, independent, one of the largest buyers of fair trade certified coffee beans in the country at its peak. Consumers who cared about where their coffee came from had a reason to reach for it. Then the company bought Keurig in 2006. Then JAB Holding Company, a private Luxembourg-based investment firm controlled by a German family, acquired the entire operation for $13.9 billion in 2016. The eco-conscious independent roaster became a line item in one of the largest private consumer goods empires in the world. What followed was a documented shift from quality-driven roasting to cost-focused mass production. The heritage stayed on the bag. The mission did not survive the acquisition. The K-Cup format that Green Mountain helped popularize now produces hundreds of millions of plastic pods per year. Most municipal recycling facilities cannot process them. For a brand that built its identity on environmental responsibility, that is a complicated legacy. The Vermont origin story is still on every bag. The Vermont roastery priorities are not. Kirkland Signature is Costco's house brand, and for most product categories, that is a reasonable place to look. Coffee is not most product categories. The core problem with Kirkland coffee is not the price. It is the silence. There is no information available on where these beans come from, no sourcing regions, no farm relationships, no country of origin specificity beyond what federal labeling law requires, no Rainforest Alliance certification, no fair trade, no organic, no independent verification of any kind. What the brand highlights instead is value and shelf life. A long shelf life in the coffee world is something the brand highlights, though in the coffee world, that is a logistics feature, not a quality one. Freshness and shelf stability are, in the world of coffee, pulling in opposite directions. Buying in bulk only makes sense when the product holds up over time. For coffee, that calculation deserves more scrutiny than the price per ounce. Seattle's Best. The name implies an independent Northwest roaster. The reality requires a brief ownership history. Starbucks purchased Seattle's Best Coffee in 2003 for $72 million. The stated rationale was that it would give Starbucks inroads with consumers who found the main brand too expensive or too premium. Seattle's Best would be Starbucks' way of competing at the budget end of the market, without touching the main brand's reputation. In October 2022, Starbucks sold Seattle's Best to Nestle, the parent company of Nescafé, which appears higher on this countdown, for an undisclosed amount. The brand now lives primarily in gas stations, fast food chains, office supply stores, and the grocery aisles those two parent companies already dominate. Seattle's Best operates under different sourcing and quality standards than either parent company applies to their main brands. It exists to fill a price point. The coffee reflects that priority. Multiple independent blind taste tests describe the flavor profile consistently: bitter, astringent, and a step below every brand it is positioned alongside. The name on the bag and the company making the coffee have not shared a meaningful relationship in over 2 decades. Café Bustelo has a genuine origin story. Gregorio Bustelo, a Spanish immigrant, started roasting coffee in East Harlem in 1928. The brand became a staple of Latin communities across the American Northeast, a dark espresso-style roast that carried real cultural weight and a loyal following built over decades. That story is still on the front of the pack. The back of the pack tells a different story. Café Bustelo is owned and distributed by J.M. Smucker, acquired in 2011 as part of a larger purchase of Latin coffee brands. The same company that makes Folgers, the same production standards. No independent sustainability certifications, no organic varieties. The sourcing transparency available on the label? None. The extreme dark roasting that defines the brand's flavor profile tends to obscure origin character rather than express it, which makes the underlying bean quality difficult to verify independently. The authenticity on the front of the pack and the ownership behind the scenes are two entirely different stories. The heritage is real. The current corporate structure is J.M. Smucker. Dunkin'. Here is something worth knowing before the next grocery run. The Dunkin' coffee at the restaurant and the Dunkin' coffee on the grocery shelf are not the same product. They are not made by the same company. They do not share the same sourcing standards. The retail grocery version of Dunkin' coffee is manufactured under license by J.M. Smucker, the same company behind Folgers and Café Bustelo. Smucker holds the license to source, manufacture, sell, and distribute all Dunkin' products in retail channels: grocery stores, mass merchandisers, club stores. The Dunkin' name is on the bag. The Dunkin' company is not involved in what goes into it. The restaurant version uses Rainforest Alliance certified espresso for its drinks. The grocery bag carries none of that. That licensing relationship does not appear on the bag. What appears on the bag is a logo associated with a different product made to different standards. The name recognition was the purchase. The coffee inside is something else entirely. Ubon used to be worth buying. That is not a small thing to say about a brand that has been on shelves for over a century. For most of its history, Ubon was made with 100% Colombian Arabica beans, a sourcing decision that gave it a genuine quality differentiator in the mass market category. Then, Kraft Heinz changed the formula. The current label reads, Robusta and Arabica beans from Latin America and other tropical regions. That language is the corporate equivalent of a shrug. Robusta beans are cheaper, harsher, and lower in the quality hierarchy than Arabica. Other tropical regions is not a sourcing disclosure. It is the absence of one. What drove the change? When exactly it happened, and where the new beans actually come from? None of that is on the label. Ubon was also named alongside Maxwell House in the $16 million Kraft Heinz class action settlement approved by a federal judge in 2021. The canisters were found to contain enough coffee to brew only 66% of the cups advertised on the label. Kraft Heinz agreed to remove the language as part of the settlement. The brand that once advertised Colombian origin now advertises a blend from unspecified regions across Latin America and beyond. The consumers who noticed the change noticed immediately. Nescafé markets itself as 100% pure coffee. That is technically accurate. What it does not say is what the manufacturing process removes before the powder reaches the jar. Instant coffee is made by brewing coffee at industrial scale, then removing almost all of the water through freeze-drying or spray drying. The natural oils, the aromatic compounds, the volatile molecules that create the experience of drinking coffee, those are what gets stripped away in the process. What survives is a concentration of bitter compounds without the qualities that balance them in a properly brewed cup. No organic certification. No publicly available third-party testing for mold or mycotoxins. Independent research across this category found acrylamide levels in Nescafé Classic Instant at around 471 parts per billion per cup at the time of this research, one of the highest figures recorded across tested coffee products in the category. Nestlé, Nescafé's parent company, also owns Seattle's Best, which appeared earlier on this countdown. The same parent company, two different price points, one shared approach to what ends up on the shelf. The convenience is real. The trade-offs are not on the label. Maxwell House, Kraft Heinz. Good to the last drop. That slogan has been on Maxwell House packaging since 1917. It is one of the most recognized taglines in American consumer goods history. The coffee behind it has not kept pace with the marketing. Maxwell House is a pre-ground coffee that may sit in warehouses and on store shelves for extended periods before reaching the cup. Coffee begins losing its volatile compounds within days of grinding. Pre-ground coffee sold at mass market scale is not a fresh product by any reasonable definition of the word. No organic option exists in the lineup. No sustainability certifications of any kind. Independent research found acrylamide in Maxwell House Original at around 170 parts per billion per cup, and in the French roast at around 184 parts per billion, both at the time of this research. Then there is the lawsuit. In 2021, a federal judge in Florida approved a $16 million class action settlement against Kraft Heinz over Maxwell House and U-Ban ground coffee. The allegation was straightforward. The canisters did not contain enough coffee to brew the number of cups advertised on the label. Court documents showed the canisters contained enough coffee to brew approximately 66% of the advertised cups, meaning consumers following the brewing instructions on the label were, on average, receiving about 2/3 of what the front of the package promised. Kraft Heinz agreed to change the labeling as part of the settlement. The slogan, so far, remains. Folgers, J.M. Smucker. Everything on this countdown has been building toward this. Not because Folgers is the most dramatic offender on any single dimension, but because it is the most consistent offender across every dimension simultaneously. And because the scale at which it operates means more American households are affected by its choices than by any other brand on this list. Folgers is the largest coffee brand in the United States by sales. J.M. Smucker, its parent company, controls approximately 26% of the entire at-home retail coffee category. More Americans start their day with a J.M. Smucker coffee product than any other company on earth. That company also manufactures the retail Dunkin' product under license and owns Café Bustelo outright, meaning 3 entries on this countdown trace back to the same production operation. Not one of those products carries an independent sustainability certification. No organic, no fair trade, no Rainforest Alliance. Across the entire J.M. Smucker coffee portfolio, at the scale of 26% of the American market, there is not a single outside verification that the sourcing, farming practices, or working conditions meet any independently defined standard. The mountain-grown claim on Folgers packaging has been part of the brand's identity for decades. Mountains begin at low elevations. The phrase implies high-altitude quality sourcing, the kind associated with more complex flavor profiles and better growing conditions. The label makes no attempt to clarify what elevation the beans actually came from. Independent research found acrylamide in Folgers Classic Roast ground coffee at around 350 parts per billion per cup, and in the instant version at around 458 parts per billion, among the highest figures recorded across tested coffee products in this research. The coffee is pre-ground before it leaves the facility. The beans are a Robusta and Arabica blend. The sourcing regions are not disclosed with any specificity. There is no roast date on the packaging, only a best buy date. The best part of waking up, according to the front of the can. The back of the can has considerably less to say. Now for the other side. 5 brands that, when the research went looking for what was actually in the bag, held up. Starting with the most accessible and working toward the one that earned the top spot on the merits, Lavazza. Lavazza is an Italian family company founded in 1895 in Turin. It is independently owned. No JAB, no JM Smucker, no Nestle anywhere in the ownership chain. That distinction, after everything on the bad side of this countdown, is worth noting before anything else. The coffee itself is widely available at major grocery chains across the United States and has won blind taste testing for medium roast in independent evaluations. The roast intensity labeling is clear and specific. Each product in the lineup tells the consumer exactly where it sits on the scale. The Classico blend is the entry point for anyone who wants to step off the bad list without hunting for specialty options. For viewers who want a clean, immediate upgrade at major grocery store prices, this is where to start. Stumptown Coffee Roasters was founded in Portland, Oregon in 1999 and became one of the defining names in the American specialty coffee movement. Direct trade sourcing, premium prices paid to farmers, and a roasting program built around what the bean actually tastes like, rather than what a commodity blend can be sold for. The roasting program has maintained its direct trade commitments and sourcing standards since the acquisition. Farm partnerships remain active and documented. Hairbender, the signature blend, is consistently cited across independent specialty coffee reviews as one of the more reliably excellent mass-distributed coffees available. Available at Whole Foods, Target, and Amazon nationally, the story around the brand has become more complicated over time. The coffee in the bag has not. La Colombe was founded in Philadelphia in 1994 and is currently owned by Chobani. No overlap with any brand on the bad side of this countdown anywhere in the ownership chain. In a category where the same 2 or 3 conglomerates keep appearing at every turn, that clean ownership line matters. Independent blind cupping by Coffee Review scored La Colombe at 90 points. The Corsica Dark Roast consistently draws notes of dark chocolate and spice depth. The Ethiopia Yirgacheffe Single Origin draws stone fruit and almond. Available at Whole Foods and a growing national grocery footprint. The Draft Latte line in RTD cans is widely available for viewers who want the brand without a brewing setup at home. The sourcing is transparent. The ownership is clean. The coffee scores well against the category. Counterculture has been roasting in Durham, North Carolina since 1995. It is independently owned, B Corp certified, and it does something no brand on the bad side of this countdown does. Every year, Counterculture publishes an annual transparency report. In it, exactly which farms they bought from, exactly what they paid, and exactly how those prices compare to fair trade minimums and commodity market rates. That is not standard practice in this industry. That is, in fact, the one data point conspicuously absent from every brand on the bad side of this countdown. The one piece of information that would allow a consumer to verify whether a brand's sourcing claims are real. Counterculture publishes it annually, voluntarily, and in full. Available at Target and Amazon nationally, the 46 blend scored 91 points in independent blind cupping by Coffee Review. Full-bodied, dark chocolate character, crowd-pleasing without being generic. B Corp certification means the company's social and environmental performance has been independently verified, not by the company, by an outside standard. The transparency is not marketing. It is a published document anyone can read. Equal Exchange is a worker-owned cooperative. It was founded in 1986, not by investors looking for a return, but by 3 people who wanted to change the relationship between American consumers and the farmers growing their food. The ownership structure has not changed in nearly 4 decades. No shareholders, no private equity, no conglomerate with a portfolio of 125 brands making quarterly margin decisions about what goes in the bag. The cooperative is owned by the people who work there. The pay structure is capped. The highest paid worker at Equal Exchange cannot earn more than 5 times what the lowest paid worker earns. Every coffee in the lineup is USDA certified organic and fair trade certified, sourced directly from small-scale farming cooperatives with whom Equal Exchange has maintained long-term relationships. J.M. Smucker controls approximately 26% of the American at-home coffee market, from the top of a corporate pyramid, and does not carry a single independent sustainability certification across any of its coffee products. Equal Exchange is built structurally differently, owned from the bottom up, certified from the outside in, and doing both since before most of the brands on this countdown had adopted the sourcing practices they use today. Available at Whole Foods, natural grocers, and Amazon nationally, the coffee is smooth, consistent, and well-reviewed across independent sources. But the reason it earns the top spot on this research is not just what is in the bag. It is what the bag represents when held next to everything that came before it in this countdown. 1 aisle, 30 seconds. 5 things worth knowing before the coffee goes in the cart. First, look for a roast date, not a best by date. A roast date tells the consumer when the coffee was actually made. A best by date tells the consumer when the company wants them to stop thinking about freshness. If the bag only carries a best by date, that is a choice the brand made. Second, mountain grown is not a sourcing standard. Mountains begin at low elevations. The phrase implies high altitude quality without specifying any altitude at all. It is a marketing claim, not a geographic disclosure. Third, 100% Arabica is the floor, not the ceiling. It describes the species of bean. It says nothing about where that bean was grown, how it was stored, whether anyone outside the company verified the quality, or what growing conditions the farmers worked under. It is the minimum required to avoid using the word Robusta. Fourth, the absence of certifications on a label is a decision, not an oversight. Rainforest Alliance, Fair Trade, USDA Organic, all of these require a company to invite outside scrutiny and meet independently defined standards. Every brand on the bad side of this countdown made a deliberate choice not to pursue them. That choice appears on the label as silence. Fifth, if the same company name appears on multiple bags at different price points across the coffee aisle, the gap between them is worth paying attention to. The premium bag and the budget bag from the same parent company are not made to the same standard. The parent company knows which one it actually believes in. That is the coffee aisle. 10 brands that prioritize the margin, 5 that prioritize the bean, and 1 label tip that works anywhere. If this kind of research is useful, subscribe. New episodes go through the same process across every category. Every episode goes behind the marketing claims and into the ingredient list. There is another episode worth watching next. The link is on screen now. Stay informed.